profession. It was one of my goals to one day, speak at this Zoom clinic. So just looking back into it now, it's a full circle moment. So really do appreciate you guys. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen with everybody. If y'all could just let me know if y'all can see this.
You're good, coach.
Perfect. All right, so building a weight room culture. So I'm just going to kind of go into how I've built a weight room culture everywhere I've been, and just go from there. I'll give you guys squat progressions, power clean progressions, how I program for high school kids, as well as how we build speed and agility drills to mimic the game of football, as well as, like I said earlier, how we plan the summer. So that way, when you guys are going into June and July planning for your teams, and you're short on coaches, or you have a large group, I'm gonna give you guys some drills, or things y'all can do for your kids, put them in the best position for this upcoming season. So obviously, first off, is my family, my wife, beautiful wife, Chelsea. She's a worship leader at a church, so she works for a church. This is my son, Jordan. So this year was pretty hectic, man. Being to DC for the first time, moving back to Dallas, and then having a new son in the family. So it's been a blessing, man. So I had to give them guys a shout out. Obviously, the guys that helped me get here. So before I got into coaching, I was a police officer in Grand Prairie for about a year and a half, part of Academy class number 10, badge number 618. Uh, Decided to leave the police department to get into coaching. I was blessed to have a connection at DeSoto. And so that's where I met Claude Mathis, and he hired me to be his defensive line coach as well as his assistant strength coach. We were fortunate enough. The date on there is wrong. It should be the 2022 6A D2 state championship. From there, our DC and on the right, top right, he ended up getting the head football job at College Park. And the guy on the bottom left is another mentor of mine, Stephen Howard. He was the DC at College Park, taught me everything I know about defense with coats. Then I was blessed to become the DC strength coach, and then halfway through the season, the assistant head coach, working for Jonathan Fish at Frisco Heritage. So all four places, learned a lot. Obviously, at DeSoto, you have the elite of the elite athletes, right? So when you get programming, you get really fun with it, you get creative. Then you go to a place like College Park, where those kids focus on academics, right? They're your everyday kids. You guys see at most programs, right? And so you have to, be on your P's and Q's and make sure that the programming is spot on, and make sure that you guys are running an efficient weight room for those kids. And then at Frisco Heritage, man, we had where a lot of us had problem with spacing. We only have 10 racks, right? We have a small indoor, but it's 20 yards. It's more of a multi-purpose room. And so you have about 100 something kids in your program, and you're trying to make them all fit at 10 racks. You have to get really creative with that. So before I even get into this, man, no matter what you do, what you believe in, it's all about delivering results. If you can't deliver results, if your kids are not getting better, if they're not getting faster, stronger, and the injury rates are going down, then you have to change something in your programming. At the end of the day, that's all that matters, right? Is delivering results, especially when it comes to strength and conditioning. It's a huge deal with that. And so this is my last year at College Park, where we had about 70% of all upperclassmen squatting 315 or more. We had about an average pound increase on power clean of 15 pounds. That's including freshmen, right? And then you have numerous of kids in the left side and the big three. And what the big three is where their power clean, their squat, and their bench is above either 1,000 or 900, the total, right? And then we had two all-time records broken in one year, which was the bench and the squat record. All right. And then we had a 22 average pound increase per freshman. So every single freshman in the program, at every lift, they increased by about 20 pounds, which is huge. And that's average. So I'm talking about the freshman B teamers, like the kids that are not even going to help you on Friday nights, and even when they're seniors, right? And so, like I said, if the numbers tell the truth, it's kind of like when you're watching film as a ball coach, right? So real quick, I just kind of want to go into, like, when you are running the weight room, kind of, the responsibility of it and the expectation. There's a standard. because you are the thermostat. You're setting the culture. You're the guy setting everything for the head football coach. I promise you, if the strength coach is top notch, I promise you the program is top notch, and they just correlate. And so, just little tidbits I'll share of something I've learned. Especially me being a young coach in this profession. You have the first 2 minutes to set the tone. If you don't have those kids locked in the first 2 minutes, and that's during the warm up, you lost them for the whole day. They're not going to magically re-lock back in. Okay, the first step is the buy-in process, right? One of my biggest pet peeves, and I know, we're all grown adults, man, and I know we preach it, but we still do it, is coaches being on their phones. I will call out a coach, and that's just me. I'm going to confront somebody, and I don't like it because you're not on your phone at practice, and so when you're in the weight room, it's the same standard, right? And then coach is actively moving around. There's a big deal I have when I'm presenting to the coaches and the coaching staff, right? Because I'm the head coach of strength and conditioning, so I'm going to treat it like I'm the head coach in that moment. And so I'm telling the coaches, you saying good job is not coaching. Why is it a good job? Is the hinge good? Are their feet planted on the floor? Are they pushing through the earth? Right? Is their core embrace? Tell them what is a good, like what they're doing good, right? And then a saying that I've heard a few times is bring energy, right? If you're juiceless, you're useless. And so, like I said, you're the thermostat. If you're hot, the kids are going to be hot. If you're cold and you're down that day, the kids are going to be down. And the kids know. The kids know when you're in your feelings or whenever you guys are having a great day. The biggest thing that I take pride in as a strength coach is I'm learning everybody's name as fast as possible. It could be the freshman B team kid, it could be the fourth year senior who's never going to play a varsity rep. I'm going to go learn his name. It could be a move in, it could be a transfer, it could be a kid who decides to play football his senior year. I'm going to learn his name because the sooner you learn that kid's name, the more he's going to trust you. And just a reminder, right? They want to be coached. They don't want a friend. So make sure you coach them hard, but love them harder. Another thing for me is psychological triggers. Having the music cranked up. I don't really understand weight room sessions that don't have music, right? Like I get it, there's a time and place, right? You want to do whistle commands. Well, I do a whistle command in my weight room as well, but I have the music going and I have a specific coach on the cell phone controlling the music. So whenever he knows the cadence, I blow those whistles 3 times, he stops the music, right? And then another big peeve of mine is play the kids' music. I get it. We want to listen to the 90s. We want to listen to early 2000s, 80s, however old you are. And, you want to listen to music like, oh, these kids need to learn history. No, they don't. I'm sorry, they don't. They want to work out. They want to get better. So play the kids' music. If you don't like NBA Youngboy Drake, that's great. I don't like them either. But I play them because it gets the kids hyped. All right. And then one thing we do is coaches take attendance while the weight room session is going. So there's no roll call. So it saves time because y'all do know, I even know down in Houston, man, it's not on block schedule sometimes. It's build a bell, even in some Dallas schools. So I know you guys only have like 40 minutes, 45 minutes to get stuff done. And then again, I'm going to say again, staff is not leaning or sitting and they're not on their phones. And the room is already set up for the main lift. Biggest pet peeve of mine as well is start on time, right? If the standards are met, let them be lunatics. So if they are doing everything perfect, there is no risk of injuries. The kids are acting crazy with a lot of hype. I'm gonna let them be lunatics. I'm gonna take away that whistle command. I'm gonna take away something to let them breathe. Okay. But at the same time, when you're running this session and it gets chaotic, it's okay. Chaos is okay because football games are chaotic. And so you as a strength coach just make sure that you're controlling your emotions to lead your coaches as well as the players, right? Control the tempo and the sound of your voice. One thing that I live by, the weight room should be the best party on campus. There's no party on Friday nights or Saturday nights. It's going to be the better party than on campus in the weight room, right? Because that's where your culture is. And then on these next slides, I have some videos that will hopefully play. Hopefully, y'all can see them. And so you kind of see right here, it's kind of how we started up. Make sure everybody's doing it. Here too, right? get creative, make sure that your coaches get involved as well with it. And then on the last slide right here, where all these kids are all bundled up, this is what we call our accountability. We train these kids so much to where they will call each other out if their buddy skips a rep. If their buddy skips a rep, they'll say, "Hey, coach, he's skipping a rep." And every kid in the weight room, or at least on their side of the racks, will zoom in on that kid and they're going to count out his reps because it matters. Because if you skip reps, you're going to skip out on a lot of things in your life, right? And that's something I learned from the police academy, man. There was one time, we had a pull-up deal and I missed a pull-up by one rep. Obviously, it's not as, crazy being a cop as a coach, right? Or like an athlete, because they told us, hey, you have to know how many bullets you have left in your gun. Obviously, it's not that serious because it's a game of football. But at the same time, I'm preaching to those kids like, hey, it matters. If you skip a rep, it matters, right? Because we don't take reps off. So our warm up, right? So you guys can screenshot this. On the top right is going to be our warm up in the weight room. It's fast. It takes 2 minutes. Everybody's counting out loud. We're not wasting time. The kids get warmed up. On the bottom right, we set them out in a grid style. So every kid is doing a high knee pull and then into high knees. So it's not like back in the day where you have 10 lines, you have a row of lines. Like, no, we're not going to blow one whistle and only 10 kids are going. No, we're going to go ahead and line up those 10 lines and then we're going to space them all out by 5 yards. And now you have a grid. So now every kid is moving in your outside stuff because, we don't have time, right? So make sure when you're doing the warm up, you start the whole group together, even if they're coming in from practice, right? Like I said earlier, the first 2 minutes are the most crucial minutes because if you don't lead it, it's going to be frustrating and confusing for everybody. If you're leading a warm up, you make sure you lead it. Corrections have got to be loud, and then be the coach. If you see something, if they're not doing the high knees correct, you stop it, recorrect it, start over. That's just something obviously Saban does, right? You hear about the crazy story Saban does. He'll restart practice. I'm the same way. I'm really anal about it, man. Like if we are going into it where I already split them out to stations, but the last warm up rep wasn't correct, we will start the whole warm up over because it matters. What matters to you has to matter, all right? Because the kids will feed off of that. If you need equipment for your warm ups, for your stations, make sure they're set up beforehand, and make sure if you are the only coach leading the program, you got to keep it simple. You can't have those complicated exercises that you guys see on social media. Keep everything simple, man, because at the end of the day, these kids, their training level was really, really basic. This is one of my last tidbits. Make sure you stop and explain everything. Do not read your team the entire workout. So if we have cleans, then we have squats, then we have RDLs, and then we have some locomotive stuff. I'm not going to say the whole workout all at once. I'm going to say, hey, this is power clean. Here's the coaching cues. Then they go 10 minutes to power clean. Then I'll bring everybody up together. Then I'm going to explain squat because you can't expect a kid to know the coaching cues about barbell hip bridges after 30 minutes of squatting and doing RDLs. You guys get what I'm saying? And you have to explain the sets, the reps, the percentage, the tempos, the technique, the breathing, and how to brace. Every single little detail has to be explained because if you're not, then now you have kids who are building bad habits and you're letting things slide, right? But I can live with the kid messing up a little bit if I've stopped and explained everything and they're just a bad athlete or they don't have good genetics, right? And so they're messing up something, but it's because it's going to take them a while, right? So just make sure you guys are doing that. Make sure that everything is timed out. So what I do, man, I'm crazy, man. I'll literally, if I know I'm going into a new block, I'll go into the weight room by myself, and I'll freaking have imagination time, and I'm timing out everything, how long it takes from setting up cleans to going into squats, how to set up for reverse lunges, how long it's going to take to break out, how long the warm up's going to take. I time everything to make sure everything goes according to plan, and I try to have about 5 to 10 minutes of filler time just in case I have to stop something. I have to up down them. I have to, reset. I have to reteach something. And so everything is timed out. And then the picture right here is just an example of one of our day ones in our blocks from one of my programming stuff. So you see we have clean pools. We would put the kids, 4 kids to one rack. You have clean pulls, somebody's pulling, somebody's spotting, somebody's doing band work, somebody's doing using a kettlebell, right? And then you go to the next block, someone's back squatting, someone's doing depth drops, someone's spotting, someone's doing mobility, right? And so everything gets timed out. Okay. This is something that I started studying, man. You get these college programs, and they have all these fancy gadgets and velocity-based training, and they have the iPads, and we don't have that, right? And so while I was studying on how to use that type of stuff in high school, I started dialing in into what Army was doing and strength and conditioning wise, what Connor Hughes was doing over there. And something that I saw was that he gave his kids some freedom when they get to the 85 to 95 rep range. And so you can see right here, I have 90 to 95%, 2 to 5 reps. And so in my head, I'm thinking, man, these are high school athletes who are hitting puberty. Some of them are going to PR. Some of them are getting stronger automatically, right? Like these kids, some of them aren't going to sleep well. Some of them are. Some of them are going to take their meal plan seriously. Some aren't. And so, how do you reward those kids who are taking it seriously, and not leaving them dragged with the other kids? And so, what I started doing at College Park was on our last set in our programming. Once we start getting to 90, 95% of a bench, of a squat, of a deadlift, then I'm going to give them freedom, right? I'm going to say, hey, you get 2 reps. That's what the programming calls for. But if you feel really, really good, and the coach who's responsible for your rack says, hey, your form is good, you can keep going, but you're going to stop at 5 reps. That way there's no injuries. And so now you have kids back squatting their 90, 95% for 5 reps. Well, guess what, coach? That you just delivered results because that's not their 90, 95% anymore. And so we kind of let these kids go past their limits. But when we do this, all the major exercises, I'm not going to have any auxiliaries going on at all. There's going to be spotters, there's going to be hype guys, there's going to be kids who are coaching each other because I don't want to correct the mini band walk when a player has 500 pounds on his back. And so right here is one of our outside linebackers squatting 315. And so you'll see him. So he'll have good form. This is not 95, 90 to 95% for him. And he's moving it like butter. So you see good form, brace, pushes it up. He has spotters everywhere. And now he just hit 4 to 5 reps of 90% or 95%. I can't remember how much it was, right? So now you know that kid just got stronger. Your programming is working, and that's even before we're maxing out, right? And that gives that kid confidence. Right here, we have a freshman D tackle at the time, benching 315. Obviously, his control is a little bit, iffy, right? But he's repping it out, and that's supposed to be his 90%. Right? But he's getting stronger because he's a freshman. He's going to hit puberty, right? He's going to grow. And so we give the kids that freedom. And so these videos are just other kids. It's another freshman. We let them go past their limits. So running back right here. It's a great job for that kid, right? Even right here, we have my big nose tackle. I forgot, this is like 5'10", 5'15". I forgot how many pounds this was, but it's in the 500s. This is his 90, right? And he's going to hit it for 2 reps, and you're going to see the bar speed when he comes up. It's like butter for him. So now he just got stronger, and he's not maxing out. It's not max out week yet. We still have 2 more weeks left. And that second rep just flies, right? He got stronger. Same thing here for one of our old linemen. This is about, I think, 495, 500. Forgot how much it was. He's going to squat it down too. His form can get better. You'll see his squat get a little bit better by his 3rd rep. Make sure he braces, keep that chest upright. But he's going to go ahead and get 4 to 5 reps. So that's kind of what we do, or what I started to play with when it comes to programming, because I believe that you have to squat heavy, you got to bench heavy, you got to clean heavy. You play the game of football, man. We're not gonna live. Gone are the days where you do 4x10, 4x15. Those days are over. We're lifting for human performance, to get these athletes as strong as possible, but also fast as possible and explosive, right? And so you need to live in that 3 to 5, 3 to 8 rep range, right? And then you start messing around with that 95% of percentage base. And now you're getting 2 to 5 reps, man. Your kids are going to get stronger no matter what. And they're not going to get injured because, like I said, the form is going to be phenomenal, right? But it all comes down to what are your progressions? And so that's kind of the next phase we're going to go into. So I'm going to talk about squat phase. So obviously this is my progressions, how I teach it from the middle school, because I get those 7th graders. I send them a workout plan, and those middle school coordinators, their job is to highlight where their kids at the end of that grade. So let's say 7th graders, hey, they mastered goblet squats, and he's going to highlight a yellow. He's going to highlight eccentric goblet squats. Now I know in 8th grade, I'm programming zombie squats for them. So by the time they get to 9th grade, they should know how to front squat perfectly. And we take our time with it. I tell them we're not chasing numbers in middle school, we're chasing movements. How well can they move? Let me take care of the strength part. Let me take care of the heavy lifting, right? I'm not saying middle school kids don't have to heavy lift, but what I care about is the form more than them heavy lifting, right? Because we don't need lifters in middle school. We need them to be fresh, have great technique, because it's annoying when you have to go all the way back and take a freaking D lineman and teach him how to goblet squat because his back squat is horrible, right? And so it's wasting time when you could have prevented that. And so 2 things we're going to focus on here, I'll show you guys videos of, is the zombie squat, because I believe the zombie squat is really, really good, teaching your kids how to actually hold a front squat position or that front rack position. That way it's not going to hurt their wrist. It's not going to hurt their lats. And so we spend time on that. And then I'm going to show you guys all freshmen, that whole first semester, they just front squat for me. They will never touch a back squat until February or March, because we're going to take our time, and I'm going to show you why. So right here we have a front squat, and he's going to go straight into a zombie squat. So this basically the reason why I teach the guys to go, hey, you're going to do 2 reps of front squat. On your last rep, you're going to go into a zombie squat, because now it tells this kid who's a freshman, hey, I am holding the bar correctly, right? And so this is his zombie squat. Nothing changes for that kid, right? So now we get here. Now we're going to get super low with these freshmen. We're going to get ass to grass, but it starts with the front squat. This is how I do it when I have the freshman group. Obviously, this kid, he needs to stop messing around. This is like when I first got into coaching. And so, I had him doing on the whistle command. And I think whistle command is the best way for freshmen. I don't like to give the freshmen too much freedom because they don't know how to lift. For the freshmen, it's more of a classroom environment for them, because you're teaching them, right? So this kid has a great squat. You'll see these kids not do too bad. Everybody's going to get low. All right. So that's how I go with the freshmen. So, we get these tall athletes who are about 6'3", 6'4", or basketball players, and they say, man, these kids cannot squat low. BS. You have to keep it serious. You have to teach them. You have to harp it. You have to make sure that you stay on them, because I promise you, when you do the progressions correctly, these kids, their hips are going to be ready for it. This kid's 6'3". Look how low he's getting. Great hips, man. Right? Right here. So now, obviously, him coming out the rack could be a lot better. But now this is them in February. They're about to front squat or back squat now, right? And so you see that little pause he's doing. We're doing eccentric back squats because we're still going to re-emphasize form. I love doing eccentric work. It's not so much as like, the purpose of people in powerlifting do it to get stronger. Yeah, that's great and all, but I like to use eccentric as well for the kids to basically think about their progressions. Are they hinging? Is their core braced? Are they breathing correctly? Right? Are their foots into the ground? Right? Are they pushing off? Or their heels on the ground. So I love doing eccentric squats for them. And the speed's up there too. All right. So this is why we front squat. We take our time with the freshmen. All right. Obviously, this kid, great athlete, D lineman. This is just one example. This is about I think 500 pounds, close to that. It's 500 and some 500, 510. It's one of those two. And he's a freshman. He's going to get depth because all he did for 8 months was front squat, even in the summer. So you're going to see him. So this is his max out day. He's going to get low and he's going to front squat. All right, so that's kind of how we go about our squat progressions, man. We take our time with front squat with those athletes because their training age is really, really, really young. And we still do front squats with our older kids. So don't think that we don't. We just get rid of front squats after their freshman year. No, it's just everything has a time and a purpose for it. Okay. So going into clean progressions, I separate the two. I teach hang clean first, then I teach power clean. I used to teach power clean first from or pulling from the ground first, and then I taught the top portion. But now I teach top portion and now the bottom. And the reason I do that is because one, the kids get to heavy RDL. That's the first progression for us. They got to be able to hinge, right? Then we teach them the hang clean pull, hang high pulls. And I can stay in that, and these kids are going to get explosive. And now I'm not having to teach them how to pull from the ground yet, which takes a long time. And so we teach a hang clean into catching it high. So it's kind of like a muscle, like a reverse curl type of deal, just so that way they can reemphasize their elbows. And then we have hang cleans, and they're going to catch it in a quarter squat. Then we have hang cleans, they're going to catch it, and they're going to pause in that catch, and then they're going to do a full front squat. And then it'll be the full hang clean. Okay. Power clean, we take our time with the approach. I'll show you all that later. And then we'll focus on the P1 and P2 because that's extremely important and is one of the biggest people neglect it so much. And there's a reason why your power cleans, you're not getting the results on power clean you want. And it's because you don't focus enough on the P1 and P2 position for cleans. Okay. And then we do heavy deadlifts because if you can't deadlift off the ground, you can't power clean heavy. It's impossible. All right. So right here, so this is me teaching in the group aspect. They're doing the hang high pulls. All right. So like I said, I like to do it in groups with the freshmen, right? I tell them, obviously you don't want them going all the way up to their nose or their forehead, but I do emphasize, hey, exaggerate it now because when it gets heavier, you're going to need to exaggerate it because you're not going to get it all the way up there, right? And so now this is kind of how we teach it. So this is the bottom portion of the power clean. So when we say approach, I want their shoelaces underneath the bar, right? And then they're going to squat, then reach. In this video, like I said, I was my first year coaching. So, past Coach Sandoval needed some coaching up. But the next video, you'll see it. But basically, you're going to kind of see, them kind of pull from the ground, right? And we focus on them being in great position. And you see, I'm the only coach in the room. That's just how it was, right? So, it's possible. So if you're the only coach in the room, I do recommend being on a whistle command, commanding the whole room, especially for freshmen. All right, so right here, so we're going to pull from the ground. So this is going to be a great video. So he's going to approach the bar. His shoelaces are going to be underneath the bar. He's going to squat. He's not going to touch the bar yet. He's going to squat because now it forces his shins to make contact with the bar, right? And then he's going to go ahead and reach for the bar. All right. So now what I tell the kids, your chest has to be higher than your hips, and your hips have to be higher than your knees. That's how you know you're in a good power position to clean. All right. So right here, you're about to see him pull it, but he's only going to go up a little bit. So this is what we call position one, position two. So you see right here how he's pausing. But if you look at him, his butt's not shooting, his back doesn't arch. He stays in that power position, and we try to stay in this position as long as we want. And so we teach that, and then we go into the shrug, right? He doesn't obviously need to go all the way that back because we're going vertically up. But like I tell the kids, you overemphasize everything because that bar is going to get heavy when you start doing some weight. All right. So we do it again. We teach it. We take our time with it. Approach, reach, pull one, and then pull two. All right. So this next one right here, you're going to see him actually clean it. So he's going to pull it, and then we hand clean it. All right. So now these kids are learning to be in that same position for as long as possible. So there goes pull one, straight into a hand clean. Right? And so you can see with this kid, our safety, his hips don't come as with enough force as I would like it. So you're about to see this freshman right here kind of dabble with it my first year coaching, and I took it with me, and obviously I got better at coaching it. And so we do two things to re-emphasize hips. We do hip cleans where we literally will put it in our hip line, right? It could also be on the top, right here on the lower hip as well, right? Kind of on the upper thigh. But this, we emphasize everything. And so you're going to see how he has to jerk that weight up with his hips, clean it, right? Obviously, his elbows, and he should be in a catch position. But like I said, young Coach Sandoval wasn't coached up as well. And then we're going to go straight into a regular hand clean. And the whole point of it is that he has that same power he used for that hip clean on the hand clean, right? And that he's a freshman, right? He's still learning his body. So this next video was a more advanced lifter. This was our junior linebacker at College Park, and you're going to see him and how he does his hip clean and hand clean with violence. So upper thighs, violence to a hand clean, violence, and that's kind of what you're hoping for when you're teaching the hip clean and you pair it with the hand clean. So you kind of got to get creative with how you want to build that complex with the athletes. All right. So we talked about squat progressions. I talked about two things that I focus on when it comes to power cleans. How we group it, and so now the next segment will go into how we train for speed and agility to mimic the game of football. So I don't do traditional cone drills when it comes to agility, because to me, when I think of agility, is reacting off of something in a blink of a moment, right? I mean, that's the game of football, right? You're not running in straight lines no more. We're not just running 40s, right? We're going to run wave runs, snake runs. We're going to run at angles. And so I'm going to show you guys some drills and how I prep it for the athletes. The first thing, though, is this is a spread or document or spreadsheet that I print off every day. And this is what all my coaches get. It goes into this much detail. It looks like a practice script, but it's for strength and conditioning. Guys, if you're a strength coach, man, you should be giving the assistant coaches diagrams. It should go into so much depth into where no assistant coach has to wonder what he's doing that day. And what I'll do is I'll also go even extra. Thomas and Hoffman, if they're doing medicine ball stations, I'm going to put them in a group chat and I'm going to send them all 4 videos of their workouts. That way they also have they have a paper, they have a video, and also I probably will try to find time to demo it for them as well if they have more questions. Okay. And like I said, everything is time, warm up, 5 to 8 minutes, 6 minutes per station, 1 minute rotate. I even time the rotation, right? And then we have a team run later. So you have 4 stations. This is how I pair the stations. Station one is going to be my power station. It's going to be sled pushes, sled pulls, medicine ball work, that type of stuff. I want to work power because your athletes have to get explosive, right? And power clean is not the only way to do that. Okay. Station two, I try to make it to where we're gonna train a theme of the day. We're gonna do either acceleration. We're gonna go ahead and do max velocity. If that's gonna be resistant band runnings, if that's gonna be with the man, I forgot what they're called, where you kind of tie it. You put on a vest and you have that weight behind you, right? And so you run with it. Or it's gonna be reactive movements or tag and chase. With your athletes. Station three is going to be our plyometrics. So now you can bring in your hurdles. You can do broad jumps, single leg broad, bounds, Mario jumps. I call them Mario jumps. That's just how I call them. I don't know what the proper term is. Yeah, I try to keep it simple for the kids. And then station four, I like to make that the technique work, right? They're going to do A series, like A marches, switches, some rhythm runs, some holds, and some deceleration. So that's how I structure all 4. So all 4 of these stations all tie in to the team run after the stations. So now you've worked explosion and power, right? Power and strength. You've worked your linear, your acceleration day. This day it was a blue band run. So we had bands behind them and they had 6 by 10 yards. Okay. Partner runs. Then station 3, they had broad jumps, single leg broads, bounds, right? Mario jumps. Station 4, they had, their technique stuff. And so now their bodies, after they go through all 4 stations, their body is prepped for the final team run, which for us, the final team run was 7 20 or 20 yarders and 4 30 yarders, right? So what I do is that the same way I program percentages, I also program total yardage. And if you guys want that spreadsheet that I have that will literally kind of plan out 12 weeks of workouts, I will send that to you guys as well. And then even on the bottom, I tell the coaches what we need. What the warm up is, what the medicine ball station will need, that type of stuff. So this is the sheet that my coaches get every single time we're going outside. Okay. So these are some of the drills that we do. So this is what we call cat and mouse. So we have one offensive player and one defensive player, and we put trash cans. You can line them up, the trash cans, however you want. It's just obstacles, right? Forcing the athletes to use that obstacle, as blockers, or they get in the way, right? Can you react off of it, right? And after they tag off, they're going to go ahead and turn and sprint. Okay. So we love cat and mouse. The athletes love it. They get competitive with it. And now you're actually training the game of football. Your defensive players are getting some live reps in. Your offensive players are getting creative. They're basically learning how to decelerate, accelerate again, and then trying to make a move on the guy, right? And then right here, we also work heavy on contact prep. And so we'll put them in hoops. We call it King of the Ring, and they'll be tied up with each other, and we're prepping their body for contact, right? So driving them out the hoop. We'll also do the old school, right, mat drills, right, where we're off of a coach. I like to still keep some old school stuff, make them react, right, make them jump, do different things, right? And I know you guys see standing around, and I just want to tell y'all something, man. I know a lot of coaches hate standing around, but sometimes when you're getting good work in, standing around is okay because you need those athletes to be rested to be able to do that drill again 100%. All right. So don't think that just because your athletes aren't always running or moving every single time that they're not getting work in. No, they're going to get work in. I promise you, especially if you're following a program. Okay. So, we got to break that habit. These are some other videos of drills we've done. So this is our mirror drill, where one guy is the dummy, one guy is the mirror, right? And you're trying to tag them off the coach's whistle. We also do this drill right here. Like I said, we're going to do contact prep stuff, right? We're going to make it a competition. All right. So they're trying to use their strength, their brute strength, because we all know that you can lift all the weights you want, but that can't translate to you being able to use your body, right? Because I'll tell you what, this kid right here that's struggling to get the football, he's actually 10 times stronger than the other kid pulling him, right? So it helps. Right here, we got the basic tug of wars, right? Everybody does them, but we focus in on them. We do them all the time. We rotate those stations. This is something I was talking about, how we don't run in a straight line. We'll do curve runs. I'll line up cones. Well, they'll be on the top of the numbers. They'll start at the goal line, top of the numbers, bottom of the numbers, and then the third, you'd be top of the numbers. Now they're forced to run in a snake or a curve run, right? So now they're learning how to bend into their angles. Okay. And this is something that I do, and I love doing curve runs, man. It's beneficial for these athletes. This is an example of our team run, right? If you want to be more, make everybody feel part of it instead of you doing the traditional bigs, mid skills, you can make everybody feel part of it, right? And so, like I said, we do everything where it's reactive off of somebody because that's the game of football. So one guy goes, they all know when the next guy goes, try to beat the guy in front of you. So we'll do our team runs with this waterfall effect. And by the time that the third group is gone, that first group is back ready to go. Okay. And they should be rested enough to go full speed again. So we love doing the waterfall runs. All right. Something that we do for a large group is we do something called the grid. I did not create the grid. The grid was created by Brent Keegans, who was at Denning-Geyer. Then he had an understudy who was Kyle Keese. If you guys are involved in strength and conditioning, everybody knows Kyle Keese is the head strength coach at Denning-Geyer. But Brent Keegans who's the creator of the grid. He's now at, I believe, Oklahoma State, but he was at UNT. And so we'll do the grid for 3 weeks just to teach the kids how to decelerate and how to break down. I also want to take away this. So you'll see a lot of quotation you call false step. Well, some of the best sprinters, man, they're going to false step and they're going to, you got to teach that habit out of them, right? And so this is our first time doing the grid. So you're going to see a lot of false stepping. So you have two ways you can do it, right? If a guy's fast, man, he's still going to false step. It's natural. But if you try to focus on it, you push off both feet to go forward, right? So this is what we do with the grid. So everybody gets involved. It's another example. Now we're going at angles. Like I said, it was our first time doing it, right? So obviously our center of gravity needs to be lower. But I'm telling you guys, if you're the only coach running your summer program, the grid is perfect for you for change of direction because now it's just your whistle. You're going off of your whistle, right? Because I know how it gets, guys. Some schools don't pay coaches to work in the summer, right? You don't get the extra pay. So even here, that's our TCU commit over here slipping, but they're breaking down, man. They're going to come to balance. We're going to teach all the kids. I'm telling you, at College Park, guys, I did not have 4-star, 5 stars, man. I did not. But we found a way to win games. Same thing here, just going the opposite way. Going shuffles. You get creative with it, right? It's different than your typical shuffle, L drill, your agility, 5-10-5 drill, right? Now you're getting everybody involved, okay? So the grid is something that we do for 3 weeks just to kind of teach deceleration, foot placement, how to be within your space. Because you got guys who try to break down like a fancy 7-on-7 receiver and now they're slipping, well, because they got out of their frame. And so we try to emphasize the grid and say, hey, this is how you need to break down. Here's your landmarks. And then we go into our games, our agility, and then we have our competitions. So how we plan for summer. So I'm a big central nervous system guy, and I believe that's one of the best ways for athletes is to structure your summers like that. So what I mean by that is that we have high days and low days. So your high days outside will be straight line sprinting, like your max velocity, acceleration, your snake runs. That's all going to be your high days. And in the weight room, your high days are your cleans, your back squats, your RDLs, because those are the most taxing. On your low days, it's going to be your change of direction, your mini games you play with the kids, like the cat and mouse I showed you guys, and the tug of wars and stuff. And then it's going to be upper body in the weight room. And so this is how I structure. So Mondays, the kids will come in. They'll have, we'll do acceleration because I promise you guys, acceleration is more important than max velo when it comes into training football. Max velo is great, but remember, these guys also aren't really track stars, right? They're going to be changing, speeds consistently, right? So you have to train acceleration more than you do max velocity, okay? And so, we'll have linear days. These are our stations, and then we'll go in and we'll do a clean squat RDL. Same thing with change direction, right? When we do our plyometrics as well, we do plyometrics 3 times a week. So our long ground contact time is going to be like your broad jumps. Your shorter ones are going to be like your bounds, your bunny hops, the shorter amount of time you are trying to build kinetic energy. Okay. So that's what I mean by long and short GCT. All right. And then before the kids go out for the weekend, we do tempo runs. Just quick story. My first year, I did a tempo runs. I designed it. When we came out and we were playing Cinco Ranch, we were up by 4 touchdowns. And then at halftime, I noticed we spent so much time on performance and explosiveness that we weren't conditioned. So yeah, we were kicking their butt and we looked like a freaking college program and we looked so explosive and we looked like freaking dudes. But after halftime, man, our kids were gassed. And I was like, man, that's never going to happen again. And then we had Klein Kane the next week, who was a hurry tempo team. And we were, yeah, strong. We were explosive, but we weren't ready. We weren't ready to survive 4 quarters. And so I bought a deal for tempo runs from somebody way smarter than me. And so that second year, we do tempo runs at College Park. Now we go 7-3, and we're not gassed at any game. They keep that same tempo run and they do it this past year, and now they go undefeated and they go 3 rounds deep against DeSoto and they're hanging with them, but they had a backup quarterback, so you can only hold on for so long. And I think that a lot of it goes to the tempo run. So if you guys are interested in getting tempo runs that I run for the athletes, I'll send that to you as well. And then on the bottom left is our A series, what we do with the kids for technique. And then just one thing, man, just make sure you guys are rewarding the kids. Make sure you guys, are having fun with them. So this is my time at DeSoto. We're about to go off on winter break and, we're playing dodgeball, man. We'll do like competitions. We're playing basketball. When I was at Frisco this past year at Frisco Heritage, we did the FIFA World Cup is in Frisco. And so we picked 5 defensive guys, 5 offensive guys, and we had a penalty shootout. And the kids freaking loved it. Um, and this is one of the guys taking off one of the all-time records for bench. He later breaks it his next time. He was our deep snapper, also played linebacker and D line. Now he's at Army. And so make sure you guys are rewarding the kids when they do succeed, right? That's everything I got. Ways to contact me. Here's my cell phone number, my personal email. I'm not on Twitter much. I'm more on Facebook. If you message me on Twitter, my wife runs my Twitter. Happy wife, happy life. So my wife runs my Twitter. So don't message me on Twitter. And then I'm actually going to be transitioning to North. I've taken a job at North Crowley. So I was one and done at Frisco Heritage. So I'm going to North Crowley, help them with their weight room program, as well as coach defensive line there, and hopefully win a state championship with them. So you guys are more than welcome to come visit at North Crowley. They're building us a 2-story indoor facility that's going to look like a college program. We're going to have iPads and on every rack. It's going to have turf inside. It's going to be state of the art, guys. It's going to be phenomenal. So I'm going to get to mess with some fancy gadgets. So if you guys ever want to come visit, man, y'all are more than welcome. Coach Harris loves it when other coaches come and visit. Then you guys can take pictures and send them to your ADs and to your superintendents and say, hey, we need this, right? And hopefully you guys get that. So, Coach, that's all I got, man. I'm not sure if this is a segment where we do questions or whatnot.
Yeah, Coach. If you got some time, we can absolutely open it up for questions. If y'all coaches got any, just go ahead and ask or unmute yourself and you can ask. So, anybody got any questions? You can also put it in chat as well. I'll ask first, Coach. There's one that I am curious about because I do want to run the weight room here at Rayburn. As far as like you're talking about your blocks, how long are you doing your blocks? Are you going? Obviously, you're starting off right after football season, not going into 90%. But are you trying to block yourself off, and how long are those usually?
Yeah, so we do a basic linear progression, right? Just the standard linear progression. So they'll have times where we do have to trinkle in that 8 to 10 rep range and it'll be the 70, 65%. We'll stay in those blocks. I call them micro cycles. So we'll stay in them for 3 weeks and then we're gonna increase every week though by 5%, by 5 to 10%. And here's where when it comes to programming, man, like the science is great, but at the same time, like I said, the kids are hitting puberty. And so I'll take a sample of our stud athletes, right? If they're struggling, the program is wrong. If they're increasing in their weight, I'm gonna go ahead and start boosting everything another 5%, and then lower the range, right? Because now you have the standard linear progression where if you're in the 50 to 75, you want to mess with that 6 to 10 rep range, right? If you're in that 80, higher 70s, you want to be in that 5 rep, 3, 4, 5 rep range. Once you get past 85, you better be below three reps. Right. And so we're staying that cycle for 3 weeks. Once we get out of like the 70s and I want to stay like in the 80s, we're going to stay there for about 4 to 5 weeks. So the blocks kind of transition and it's all based on where we're at with football. Like my spring ball, like blocks are going to be 5 weeks because that's how long spring ball is. You know what I'm saying? If it's going to be spring break, I keep, and here's the deal too. We don't do deloads at all either because you have spring break, you got fall break, you got Christmas break. So we don't do deloads at all. There's for us, they're high school kids, man. They're going to be okay.
Gotcha, Coach. Thanks. Anybody else got any questions for Coach Sandoval? Oh, looks like we got someone.
Yeah, so with the freshman ride for one rep maxes, and so we will start with the bar. I'm telling you, I take my time with them. We'll start with the bar, and I have about two, three coaches, right? And I'll print them off sheets, and I'll say, hey, you guys look good. I'll tell a kid, hey, I'll pat on the back, add 10 pounds, add 15 pounds. We'll only add 5 to 15 pounds. And then they'll write it on their sheet. And so that way, when they come in the next week or the next, 2 days, whenever it's time to squat again, they'll keep on adding. So we just keep on adding 5 to 15 pounds every single training session they come in at, right? And so now you get a general idea. I can take those sheets and I can do a formula based on, hey, this kid hit 255 for 3 reps. His max must be about 280. You know what I'm saying? And so now I can make personal sheets for those kids. But like I said, man, when it comes to freshmen, that first semester, I'm not really giving them percentages. It's more of kind of going off the eye, off of feel, off of is the technique correct? And it's kind of a pain in the ass. There's probably a better way to do it, but I'll rather be safe than sorry. And I care about technique. That first semester, I get those freshmen because those middle school, man, I love middle school coaches, but they do a lot and they can't see all 200 kids that they have sometimes, right? So we take our time with that. So that's how we do it with the freshmen, if that answers your question.
Looks like we got another question from Coach Signs. Coach Signs, you want to go and unmute yourself?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Coach Sandoval, thank you very much. First of all, I wanted to ask you, I'll give you my scenario. So due to our weight room, we only have 14 racks. I've been trying to put that high low day kind of like you do, but we usually have to go lineman inside weight room first and skills
Mhm.
outside because of the size of our weight room. Our skills hit the high low day because obviously you got to do all your sprint work first, outside work, then hit the weight room. How would you structure your lineman work if they're gonna hit the weight room first, uh, tagged in with your speed work after? And one question before, how long do you have for each part of your segments?
Yeah, so the segments, I'll answer that one first. The segments are usually about 35 to 40 minutes, and then we'll flip it, right? And that's pretty standard for summer. So when it comes to bigs, I know that scientifically it's better to sprint first, right? But when it comes to bigs, it doesn't truly matter, because they're only going to be running 5, 10 yards at a time, right? And so they're never going to truly hit max velocity. And so with the bigs, we'll shorten stations. So instead of going 4 stations, right, because your skills are probably more kids, we'll go 3 or 2, and we'll take out the max velo, and we'll focus on acceleration, right? And so, but what I do with the bigs though, because I've been in that situation here at Heritage. Let's say the skills have 4 sets of back squat. Well, those bigs have 6 sets because we take in an outside station away from them. Does that make sense? And so now you're trying to even out the times. And so what I did, I started teasing with them. I started going 8 sets of 3 because at the end of the day, I flipped that backwards. It's 3 sets of 8, right? And for the bigs, you want to chase, that tonnage. You don't want to chase reps. You want to chase tonnage. How much weight can you put all in that big on the bigs for that one rep section, right? And so that's what I would do. That's what I did at Heritage. I just took away stations. I cut it down to 2 because they didn't need all 4. You know what I'm saying? You can combine it to where there was one year at College Park and I changed it only because of our numbers got huge, and so it was hard. But I literally set it up to where like we went station by station all together with the bigs. You get what I'm saying? So everybody's doing the medicine ball station. Then we move on to the full speed, the acceleration linear sprints. Does that make sense? And then we were done. You know, and it's kind of good that you put the bigs in the weight room first because if you lose out on some of the speed stuff, you're gonna be okay. So hope that helps.
Yeah, coach, it does. Just trying to get the most out of I can with it because we have 30 minutes for weight room, 30 minutes for outside, and we have 30 minutes for sports specific sometimes. So just trying to get the best results, like you said at the very beginning. It's can you show results for what you're doing with the kids?
Yeah, man, and also too, man, cut the auxiliaries. You don't need them. I mean, like if you just squat and RDL, and then you can do cleans another day. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to clean twice a week or 3 times a week, right? Because you're still getting we want them to be strong. I mean, there's a big common misconception that you have to clean all the time. Well, there's with the medicine ball throws, with your plyometrics, you're still building explosiveness, right? And so I would just focus on the bigger fundamental lifts than the auxes, if that makes sense too. Save you
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. That's usually what I do with my freshmen. So I'll work on a primer. So like for bench, I'll do a push press, and then I'll work a push press bench and a back workout, something that's gonna even out
Yeah,
everything. But yeah, thanks,
for
coach.
sure. Of course.
All right, coach, you good for one more?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I got time.
All right, we'll go ahead and just for respect for everyone's time. So we'll go ahead and end this with this last question right here with Coach Torres. Coach Torres, you can unmute yourself.
Coach, what's up, man? Hey, good job, man. Hey,
Appreciate you.
I was actually going to just you kind of hinted at it and you started on what I was thinking, but how do you train your bigs different than you train your skill guys, if you wanted to label them that way?
Yeah.
What's your opinion on that? Because I know old school is everybody does this, but kind of the new school mentality is like you said a minute ago. Those guys don't have to do that. So,
Mhm.
I mean, just kind of get your opinion on it and how do you do differently with those guys?
Yeah, for sure. And I try not to trend towards the new school ways too much because I was taught by old school coaches, and I do believe that a lot of old school ways are still the way to do things, right? And so I treat those bigs, like I said, I'll add more sets for them in their back squats, power cleans, their benches, right? And I'll take away auxiliaries. And I'll even make them come in after school if I don't feel like those bigs, got enough. Because at the end of the day, them bigs aren't running track. Some of them will run shot put and discus. They're running from the wrestling room. They're not playing basketball. And so now they're in powerlifting quotation, right? It's been the rules, right? It is what
Yeah.
it is. And so, but when it comes to outside, I will change the stations as well sometimes. I'll add sled pushes and sled pulls and tire flips instead of doing sprint technique. You get what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
so that's just kind of different ways I've gotten creative with those bigs. But I've been blessed with working with great assistant coaches, especially great O-line coaches, D-line coaches, that they're going to make time for their bigs to get a second lift in. Just because, I know you got 30 minutes, but if you have the opportunity to get another lift, then go ahead and get it. You know what I'm saying? But that's just kind of how I've been with it. But I typically try to keep everything the same, especially for programming and time's sake. But if I have to change something, it'll be add more sets, lower the reps, so that way they can add more weight and stay in high weight scenarios. But then in the outside stuff, you're doing more body movements like you're galloping or you're tire flips, tire pulls. We're tug of warring, we're competing, right? As you saw in one of the other videos, one of the kids was trying to reach for the football. Those are bigs. The bigs are doing that. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
So that's kind of how I try to make it a difference. So,
I got you. Appreciate you, man.
uh,
All right. Coach Velasquez, did you have anything? I saw your hand raised and then you kind of retracted it.
Yeah, I just had a quick question, Coach. I'm sorry, just one more. Uh, I know, Coach, when you're programming, I guess the intensity, right, your percentages for the
mhm.
lifts, and there was a part of your presentation that you said that the older kids kind of they're on their own, right, and
Yeah.
um, do you ever struggle or have those struggles where the kids are being too optimistic with adding more weights, or are you strict with what they put on the bar
Yeah, no,
as
I'm
far
pretty
as
strict with
that,
what
or do
they
you
put
allow
on.
them? Mhm.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty strict with it. When we get to that 95%, those kids know that I'm not going to mess around. Like if you better follow your rep sheet, like whatever your percentages says, because the one thing that I'm going to get upset about is injuries in the weight room because you can prevent it, right? And so I make a joke with the kids. I say, hey man, okay, cool. You want to add 5 pounds, 10 pounds? You don't hit that bench press, you have 100 push-ups. That's your punishment. And the kid won't hit it. And I'm so serious. They're going to have their 100 push-ups and they're not going to do it again because you'll get those knuckleheads, right? But then also it goes back to you position your coaches at every rack. Like your offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator better be in the weight room, not hiding in the office drawing up plays. Like I'll get pissed about that. I'll throw a marker at them. Like I don't care. It's the weight room time, and I respect them on the field, right? Then they need to respect the weight room because I'm trying to grow their athletes to be, to help them out, right? And so when you have coaches, I have one coach for every 4 racks. Now you have eyes at one specific spot, and the kids have sheets. I print out the sheets. I'm so nice that I tell them, hey, it shows a 145, a 35, and a 25. It shows them. They don't have to count. I do the counting for them, right? That's just for time efficiency. But we harp it on it to where, hey, you're going to stay in that 90, 95 because I'm giving you the opportunity to hit more reps. You know what I'm saying? And once you hammer that on it, the kids buy in, they see they're getting stronger, they're gonna listen to whatever you say. So
I appreciate it, Coach, man. And by the way, great job, man. Heck of a presentation. And one last thing, whoever runs your music, if they have a playlist of Clean Young Boy, I need that because cannot find no dang clean music, man.
yeah, that's hard, man. It's hard. What I
Good
do is I
job,
get the
man.
kids to make it, and
Yeah.
then I'll tell them and I'll review it. But I have a Spotify deal that has the
Yeah.
cuss words bleeped out, so I can send you what I play for the kids. So.
Man, thank
Mm.
All righty, guys. There is no more questions left. I'd like to thank Coach Sandoval again. He's is the DCF Frisco Heritage. He's now going on to North Crowley. I'd like to thank Go Route for helping sponsor these clinic talks over these next few weeks. Remember, we have several. We have April 21st, April 28th, and March 1st coming up. So looking forward to more talks and more learning from coaches from across the state and in this great association. Thank you, Coach Sandoval. Good luck to everyone as they start spring ball.
Appreciate y'all.
Yes, sir.